Okay, so this is another inverter build, and I'm back with these EG4 batteries and this grow watt inverter. Not because I liked them from the last build as much as when I built that setup, I bought extra inverter, and the people who were shipping the EG4 batteries were really prompt and fast, and I wanted something quickly. I will make an update video on that other system with the vertical rack, and I did add more batteries to it, just so everybody knows. So this is a build inside of a job site box, and I set this up. I have to do some dual shield flux core on a bridge for my friend, and he has a little 6,000 watt generator that is really noisy, and it's I don't like generators, so it's just really unpleasant to work around, and I don't want to make that the plan. If we have to use it, I will, of course, but I would really prefer that not be what I have to do. So I put this in a job site box, and it's got feet on it, and I can move it around with the telehandler, and I added 2 L520 twist locks here, and then a L1430 240 volt twist lock there. And I cut the handle off here using some primitive skillsman techniques, and I wanted these recessed so when I go banging it into things on and off of flatbed or a truck or something like that, I don't knock the parts off. I used these standard MC4 connectors, and I bulkheaded them through there for the same purpose. And I do have some PV connected, so I threw 2 450 watt panels on it, which is just enough to get the voltage up high enough to start the charge controller in this little inverter, which so far I'm having better luck with than the other one I did. The other one stopped charging, and I ended up putting a charge controller on it, and I don't know what the reason for that was, but this one says it's charging, and sometimes the battery indicators agree. Not always. Like right now, they don't agree. But so I set up these 4 batteries with equal length leads. That's why they're a little kind of floppy looking. I didn't cut them specifically for each battery length. I cut them all a uniform length because the resistance would be different on each cable, and it would tend to charge the batteries in a sequence rather than bringing them all up at once. And this setup has, oh god, you guys are gonna throw up here. This setup has a 200 amp class T fuse and 2 terminal blocks. And I put the terminal blocks in on this one because I had to add a charge controller on the other one, and I found it frustrating to do so without terminal blocks. So I'll be able to throw a charge controller on there really easy, and then patch the charge controller in to the PV and abandon this if it stops working like the last one. Either way, the inverter was cheap enough that I'll take it with or without a charge controller functioning. And I put a 150 amp breaker on it here. Oh, another thing, I left these, again, equal length, these 2 gauge cables, equal length, and I left them long as I did with the input here to the panel over there, as well as the PV, because I have the idea that this is a universal container that may hold different inverters throughout its lifetime. So I wanted to keep the cabling flexible and longish so that I can add I can swap out inverters relatively easily without having to make new cables each time. So the input to the panel comes out of the inverter on this 10 gauge SO 4 conductor cable. It just feeds this little basic panel. I buy the 8 circuit panel. I'm not going to use 8 circuits, but I buy the 8 circuit panel because I like it. And I ran out of circuit breakers, so this one is waiting for a breaker. But I just used some other SO I had in stock, and I bulkheaded these connectors in here. I could add boxes to them. I might do that. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with that yet, but I left the cables set up to do so if need be. I consider the entire inside of this container to be non-accessible space, so contact with these particular devices will probably be very low. Yeah, again, I bulkheaded these connectors through here, and I just put another set of connectors so that, again, if this inverter charge controller stops working, I'll be able to swap in another charge controller relatively easily. Oh, and I put Rockwell insulation bats underneath of that hardy board down there, and I did or the concrete board rather, and I did 2 layers of concrete board, and I wanted to have the option to be able to keep this thing a little warm for the batteries in the winter time. And so I can insulate around the batteries to keep them warm in the winter. I have yet to finalize a ventilation plan. It gets a little breezy here where I am, and I've been a little skittish about cutting giant holes and stuff like this, but I will figure out a way to ventilate this thing so nothing overheats. Maybe I'll make another video about that too. All these negative leads are also a uniform length, and they are actually the same length as the positive ones, although that doesn't actually matter. And yeah, so I'm going to make some more cables. So this is a 1430, L1430 on a 10 gauge cable, and this is a 50, and I have other distribution like this already, and I'll make PV leads any length, drag panels around, and charge this thing wherever I end up using it or parking it. But I estimate I should be able to work on nice little projects completely disconnected, and then just bring it back on the forklift and charge it when I'm not using it. So yeah, so that's the project for today, and I hope it looks good. Some of you had commented on the other GrowWatt video. That inverter battery setup wasn't for me specifically, and the person who I was giving it to didn't initially want to spend a lot of money, and they just wanted to get it working, and so sort of like a gateway, gateway solar setup. Now they're very excited, and we'll do some more cool stuff, but that's the project of the day. Thanks. Bye-bye.